And so we begin this video, this very special episode in Cincinnati, Ohio. Right there is the downtown skyline. I am standing before, check this out, what is known as the Hall of Justice, Union Terminal, an iconic towering train station. My great-grandmother used to get off here in the 1930s. She would come down with her friends from Richmond, Indiana, and they would spend the weekend, sometimes just a day, here in Cincinnati. I've got an old photograph that she took. I'll have to share it sometime. If I find it, I'll put it into frame, but I don't know where it is right now. I'm moving, still moving. But yeah, a lot of history in these parts as far as my family, as far as toys, as far as nostalgia. And guess what? Union Terminal, this building right here, sits right on Kenner Street. This is Kenner Street right over here. The birthplace of Kenner Toys was right here. It's just a gorgeous building. We came here at the right time. Check out the limestone. It's lit up with the sun in the east. It's a beautiful morning here on this Monday. Too bad the fountain's not going. And too bad we're not taking a train right now. I've only got 15 minutes. They have 15-minute parking right here around the rotunda unless you are paying to park and traveling upon this train station. There are tons of train tracks behind here. It's part of the reason why this area of Cincinnati here on the west side is very industrial. Procter & Gamble just over yonder. I remember passing that up, seeing it from Interstate 75 when we were traveling from Indiana down here for football games. Big Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I spent a lot of weekends in Cincinnati when the Steelers played the Bengals, thanks to my dad. So this incredible Art Deco building, Cincinnati's historic terminal train station, to a lot of people now recognize as an inspiration to the Hall of Justice from Super Friends and Justice League. And then they just reused this building for the latest Superman movie that just came out last year. You might remember it, and you might remember this building. And what's wild is directly across from here is Kenner Street, a tiny street connected to the beginning of Kenner Toys, the company that would eventually create some of the most iconic toys of all time. We're talking about Star Wars figures, Batman toys, the real Ghostbusters toys, the Easy Bake Oven, and the most iconic, Star Wars. Today, we are going to check out the birthplace of Star Wars toys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if it's your first time. I am Tampa J, and I'm so pumped to create this episode. I've been passing through Cincinnati my whole life, and it was a few years back I watched a Netflix show called The Toys Who Made Us when I realized that Kenner, the toy company that created the first Star Wars toys, was based right here in Cincinnati. And I was like, man, it would be so cool to figure out where those toys were designed. Where was the spot? And that sparked the adventure today. Thank you for joining me vicariously. Today in this video, I'm going to show you where Kenner began, the original location, and where the birthplace of not only the Star Wars toys were, but the first Batman toys. The Batman toys of the 1989 movie were designed and created right here in Cincinnati. I'm going to show you where that was too. And not just that, the real Ghostbusters. Little did I know, when I was a huge fan of the Ghostbusters, had all the toys when I was a kid, just 80 miles from here is where I lived, that they were designed right here in Cincinnati. We're going to get into that, all of the toys that were created here. There's a lot of Batman toys created with Kenner right here in Cincinnati. The 80s DC ones, look at this, Hall of Justice, amazing. Kenner right over here, Kenner Street. I'm so excited. I'm getting ahead of myself, but that should add to my excitement. That should show you. So we're going to show you, we're going to talk about Batman, Star Wars, and all kinds of nostalgic toys as far as Kenner. And we'll get into the history and what evolved and what changed as we go to these locations. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you Star Wars fans slash toy fans enjoy this video. And if you're just along for the ride, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it. There's much ahead. Let's get started. And a little bit more history before we walk off here. I'm going to take advantage of my 15 minutes of parking. This is the site of home field of the first professional baseball team. The 1869 Cincinnati Red Stockings played their home games on this site in a ballpark called Union Grounds. The facility included a main grandstand nicknamed the Grand Duchess. The ballpark was bounded by Kenner Street to the north and Hopkins Street to the south, and the main grandstands and home plate were located near the landmark that faced the northwest. And of course, Cincinnati Red Stockings, the original name, now the Cincinnati Reds, although the team disappeared and would reappear many years later. My grandfather was a huge fan of the Cincinnati Reds, had season tickets. My grandparents actually came to a Reds game on their honeymoon. Married in Newcastle, Indiana, came down to Cincinnati and watched baseball for their honeymoon weekend. All right, I just got to take a peek inside Union Terminal. And welcome to the Hall of Justice. I had to pop my head in here. I've never been inside here. Give you a quick look at it. Check that out right there. That's so cool. Yeah, this is where, oh, there's a bunch of kids here on a field trip. That's pretty cool. So these are the old ticket windows over here. Check this out. That is the view right there. Oh my gosh. Now, I've been to Grand Central Station. That is pretty much the only thing on par with this right here, but I've never seen anything like this. This is amazing. I can't believe I've never been here. My grandmother and a bunch of my family members have taken the train and walked through Union Station. First time here. All right, so now we're gonna head out. My 15 minutes is almost up, and we're gonna head over to Kenner Street to see the original birthplace of Kenner Toys. All right, so to get over to Kenner Street, because of the one-way situation, I'm actually going underneath Union Terminal right now. Okay, that's what I was hearing. Okay, wow. I kind of feel like I'm at Batman right now. This is wild. The next right should be Kenner Street. Look at that old door right there. Wow. And welcome to Kenner and Western Avenue. I actually crossed Western Avenue right over here. This is 75. You can hear the noise. Once you get off of 75, you cross Western and you go right into Union Terminal. This is one of the Union Terminal parking lots. You can't see it right now because of the trees. I just came up Kenner Street, and check it out right there. Kenner Street. Now you're probably saying, oh wow, they named the street after the toy company? No, it's quite the opposite. This is pretty amazing. The three brothers that founded Kenner Toys named their toy company after the street they opened it up on. Now the former Kenner factory is long gone, but it was said to be between Western and the next major street down there, which Union Terminal sits on. We just came up this way, went under, you saw it, went right underneath Union Terminal. So between the 1940s and 1960s, right here on the north side of Kenner is where the design development offices and some manufacturing and assembling went down. The story of Kenner Toys began back in 1946. Three brothers, Albert, Philip, and Joseph Steiner, right here the Steiner brothers, aka Kenner, first made lunch boxes, toy pistols, chalk products like chalkboard stuff, bubble projectors, and kids play items. Now when Kenner began here on Kenner Street, they were not only designing it, they were manufacturing and doing some assembling right here as well. It's honestly kind of surreal knowing that the roots of Star Wars toys, Ghostbusters, Batman, easy bake ovens trace back right here to this spot along Kenner Street. Now, I cannot find a picture of the original location. You can't even find a correct address on the internet. So I'm hoping by putting out this beacon on the internet, not everything is on the internet yet, someone can perhaps post a picture if they have it or know of it, or maybe someone can find it easily in a library around here, of the original Kenner factory right here on Kenner Street. Now that would be cool to find, and obviously if I find it, I've pretty much thrown it into this video by now. I didn't realize it was named after the street until I got here. I may have learned that before, but I totally forgot. I was just mind blown about this history. Amazing. The Steiner brothers, who knew? Not the wrestling brothers, they came much later. It's really wild to think that a couple brothers here in Cincinnati started a toy company named after this street and eventually helped create some of the most iconic toys that I've ever known. If you're watching this video, you're probably saying, yeah, Batman, Ghostbusters, Star Wars, just those three right there are some of my favorites. It says the company slowly exploded during the 50s and 60s as TV advertising and mass retail became huge in America. The Steiner brothers pushed Kenner toward highly creative toy concepts, TV tie-ins, licensed entertainment products, gadgets, and mechanical toys. They eventually helped create some of the massive hits like Easy Bake Oven, Spirograph, SSP Racers, and Star Wars action figures. Now, all of the toys you played with in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that were made by Kenner weren't manufactured even in the United States. Those were outsourced. But to be technical, everything was designed and created right here in Cincinnati. Whether it was back here in the 1940s through 60s or in the 1970s through 90s, it was in downtown Cincinnati. And that's the location of the birthplace of Star Wars toys. I'm really excited to go check that out with you guys. At that time, nobody could have imagined this tiny operation would eventually become one of the most important toy companies in American history. It really shaped the childhoods of many 70s, 80s, and 90s kids just like me. So it's quite amazing to be standing here amongst the original location of the birthplace of Kenner Toys. And also, the Steiner brothers sold Kenner to General Mills in 1967. I want to add that. One of the biggest toy companies in America was once owned by a cereal company. I felt like General Mills, the cereal company, owned a little bit of everything at some point. And also read that in the 80s, Kenner's Toys manufactured DC Superpowers, those action figures. So they definitely made Justice League characters. That's amazing. Right here in Cincinnati, and there it is right there across from the original Kenner location, the Hall of Justice. That's a really cool tie-in. I had the 1989 Batman toys, of course. I was alive. That was huge when I was a kid. I got those at Kmart, Newcastle, Indiana. Of course, I had the real Ghostbusters and the Star Wars toys. Star Wars was a little before my time, but I got into it in the 90s when it came back. Specifically, the Power of the Force figures. I've shared my Star Wars figures before on the channel. Now, those were made by Hasbro because in 1992, Kenner sold to Hasbro. And although Hasbro still to this day will put Kenner on some of their figures on the cardstocks, all Star Wars toys are made by Hasbro Disney. The toys may have been manufactured overseas, but the ideas that changed childhood forever started right here in Cincinnati. And it all began right here on Kenner Street. Good. I think they thought I was waiting for the bus. That's a bus stop right there. Whoops. And now we're heading to the birthplace of Star Wars toys, 912 Sycamore Street, just 1.6 miles away from Kenner. Look at that. It's actually closer than I thought. Every time I drive through Cincinnati, or used to, now, till this day, I get that song stuck in my head from the 80s Babes in Toyland movie starring Keanu Reeves and Drew Barrymore.
I come from C-I-N-C-I-N-N-A-T-I, Cincinnati, the best town in Ohio, USA.
At first they called it Cincy.
I get that song stuck in my head. Cincinnati, Cincinnati. Also, Cincinnati is the corporate home of not only Kroger supermarkets, but Penn Station. Oh, my favorite sub restaurant. And we've come to downtown Cincinnati, guys. Let me set this up properly. Got to use your imagination. This is Sycamore Street. There's the sign right there, Sycamore. Across the way is the Hamilton County Justice Center. 912 Sycamore Street is the address, as it was for Kenner Toys in the 1970s when they were creating the first Star Wars toys. It was right here in the former building that sat here before they created the Justice Center. I'm going to get a little more specific. All right, so this is Court Street. This is Court Street that I actually parked on, and down here the next intersection is 9th and Sycamore. Kenner Toys sat between 9th and Court Street. So it sat right here. And there's a picture of the building. I'll put it in frame for you. That building right there you see in frame sat right here. And that is the birthplace of the original Kenner Star Wars toy era, right here. This is where the building sat. Most people don't realize one of the biggest gambles in toy history happened right here at this location. Star Wars became the biggest movie franchise on Earth. And before it did, Lucasfilm locked it in with Kenner. They had no idea what was about to happen. Probably the greatest deal of all time. Star Wars came out, and of course, it exploded, and every kid wanted a Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader action figure. Maybe a C-3PO. Anywho, almost nobody believed it beforehand, though. Lucas went everywhere to try to get someone to make toys for this movie, and little did we know it would be Kenner, or little did they know it would be Kenner, and Kenner would become one of the biggest toy companies throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and now carried on through Hasbro today. That's pretty exciting, and it all happened right here. All right, I came down to Sycamore 9th. I'm staying on East 9th Street, looking across at the Justice Building. The Kenner building was torn down in 1982, and this was a parking lot for a while. The toys were designed right here. There deserves to be a plaque out here for that. The Star Wars fans deserves a plaque. What do you think? I think so. And I just learned that in 1987, Tonka actually bought Kenner. Hasbro acquires Tonka and Kenner in 1991. I had no idea. I had a lot of Tonka toys too, so look at that. So eventually Hasbro would phase out the Kenner logo, but they did use them. I was there, I can tell you, I have so many of them. They're everywhere. They did use the Kenner logo on the Power of the Force figures, the figures from the 90s when they brought back the original Star Wars films. As George Lucas was working on the prequels, of course, he used Hasbro, not Kenner at that point. They had bought the rights to not only Kenner, but Tonka. I just learned that right here. That's pretty impressive. And Hasbro is actually located in Rhode Island, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I hope to visit there someday. Pretty cool to be at Hasbro Disney inside of Lucasfilm. Got a little earful of that when I was visiting there in San Francisco a couple months ago. Did not realize all of this stuff until recently, and that's part of the reason I wanted to come out here today and visit the birthplace of Star Wars toys. I'm such a huge fan of Star Wars. It shaped my childhood. So did the real Ghostbusters and Batman. So it's really cool to see all this today. We got to go to the location of Kenner when they were designing the Batman and the Ghostbusters toys. I got to see that. Also, Justice Center. Hope everyone's okay. We got a fire truck coming. They're turning the corner. Cincinnati's finest right there, ladder 3. Anywho, and what I was starting to say is that pretty weird that here's a Justice Center where Kenner Toys used to sit, and over at the original location, the Hall of Justice, without their windows. They were looking out the window at the Hall of Justice designing toys. Pretty cool how that all came together right there. All right, so before I get in my car here and we head to the next Kenner location, I just want to show you, I'm standing on Court Street. This way, a little ways down the way, you see the Kroger building. That is the corporate home of Kroger right there. That's Eisenhower Place. That's the street. That used to be one Kenner place. When Hasbro bought Kenner in the 90s, 1991, they moved the corporate home to this building right here, which is now one Kroger way. Kroger and Kenner go together right here in Cincinnati. So this was after the next place I'm going to, where Kenner went after they left, right here in Sycamore. After the Star Wars boom, they needed a bigger place, so they moved uptown about 8 minutes from here, and that's where we're going to next. Beautiful Cincinnati. We're about 20 minutes from Kings Island. Wish I had more time, I'd pop in and ride the Beast. All right, guys, I am on the northeast side of Cincinnati now, a very industrial area. I turned here at 2940 Highland, that's the address. I parked over here in the parking lot. This building right here, in the 1980s and 1990s, Highland Park, this very building right here, was owned by Kenner. This is the distribution center to Kenner Toys. It is still standing. Now, I've got goosebumps on my goosebumps because that means that at some point, not only Star Wars, we're talking about Return of the Jedi, of course, Empire Strikes Back, the AT-AT, the Millennium Falcon, all the way through the 80s. We're talking about Jurassic Park in the early 90s, the real Ghostbusters toys. I had a Proton Pack. At some point, my Proton Pack and my Ghostbusters trap and action figures was inside this building here. The Spirograph, who remembers the Kenner Spirograph? The Easy Bake Oven. Batman 1989. The DC Action Series. All of the Batman toy lines, including the Batman the Animated Series. All of that stuff went right through this building. Also, Strawberry Shortcake. I failed to think of that. I'm reading a list right here. Care Bears. Care Bears were through here. Silverhawks. The $6 Million Man, Lee Majors action figures, all went through this building. Anything Kenner 80s and 90s was right here. This was their distribution center. Now, there are many different businesses inside Highland Park today. Something called Luxfer Magtech, also Goodyear Dunlop Tires. It's a giant building. You can see it as it goes all the way down. I'd say it's like at least 2 or 3 city blocks. This is a significant piece of Star Wars Kenner history. All of those I just mentioned, I'm just thinking of all my Ghostbusters toys. Some I still have today were at some point inside of here, and Star Wars, of course. That's pretty amazing. So the toys were not being designed here at that time. They were being designed elsewhere back in downtown Cincinnati. More so at 1 Kenner Way, aka the Kroger building. After they closed the Sycamore location, Kenner had multiple offices. It is kind of just said that spread out through Cincinnati were different offices of Kenner where their people designed the toys. But the one location, the big corporate after the Star Wars boom, was where Kroger is today, the Kroger Corporation building, and this was their distribution center. This is a mecca right here. Building still standing. Think of all the Kenner toys coming in and out, the Kenner trucks with your favorite toys on them. I'm pretty sure you still might have some too. They all went through this building. Even Jurassic Park. Also in this building, they have on the sign over here, Tire Hub, Heater Meals. Hey, I know those. I used to work at Fire Rescue. We bought heater meals. They're like MREs. Luxfer, Magtech, Alta Fiber, and something called Fowling Warehouse, sports bar and event space. Yesterday I went antiquing with my mom and I purchased this Hardee's Ghostbusters 2 poster, which came out in 1989. I had it when I was a kid. Little did I know the toys I had at that time. Look at this poster reunited with it. It's my second one. Here's where the Ghostbusters 2 toys came through. I had the Slimer Proton Pack, the Slime Proton Pack from Ghostbusters 2. That would have went through this building right here. That's pretty awesome. All your favorite Kenner toys of the 80s and 90s in and out of these loading docks. Now, I'm assuming they had the whole building back then. I would say so. They just blew up because of a movie called Star Wars, and the rest is history. It would be cool to find some sort of Kenner signage left on the building. Not so sure. Also, maybe a photograph of this building with the Kenner signage. If I find it, I'll put it into frame. Here's the Fowling Warehouse. I wonder if they put a bowling alley in there. I've got the pins on the sign, maybe. Kenner Toys, original distribution center to your favorite 80s and 90s toys. What a cool find. I don't think there's much recognition for this place either. think there should be a historic sign placed out here as well. Just my opinion. These toys were important to us. The toys that made us, as someone once said. Pretty cool. Amazing. I couldn't wait to visit this. This history, I'm just a nerd when it comes to Star Wars, just to begin with. But the toys, it was all about the toys. All right, guys, pardon the noise. I parked here. Did not know it was going to be loud. That's a car wash right there. Welcome to Oakley, Ohio, suburb of Cincinnati. We are just 3 miles away from where we last left off at the Kenner Distribution Center. I stopped here because I have into frame and barely fitting into frame the world's largest Kroger grocery store. This building is massive. It is a Kroger. It is 145,000 square feet, and again, only 7 minutes from the Kenner building. We're not too far from Kings Island. I had to stop here. I spent a lot of time in Kroger this weekend with my mom. We went shopping there yesterday to prepare. Her and her boyfriend Pete. Pete made us hamburgers and hot dogs, but Mom and I bought the stuff at Kroger last night, my original Kroger in Newcastle, Indiana. I had to come check this out. It was very close. I want to look inside the world's largest Kroger. I mean, it's freaking massive. Didn't think today I would be at the world's largest Kroger here in the corporate home of Kroger, Cincinnati. And a little tie-in, as we said, Kroger took over One Kenner Way. It is now One Kroger Way downtown there. All right, this Kroger is so massive. This is just the pharmacy area. Grocery store. It is so massive. They even have an area inside for patio furniture. Oh, that's not bad. $650 for all that. What do you think? They have a bar in here. Look at that. They've got a bar and a wine tasting bar. I have never seen that before inside of a grocery store. Oh wait, Publix Greenwise in Florida have a little bar at some of them, but not a wine tasting bar. This is like right at the end of the center aisle. Check this out, all the way down the store, across the store. That's not the back of the store, that's the side of the store. The back of the store is back there. This is definitely the largest grocery store building I've ever been into. And of course, they've got a Starbucks. I'm becoming used to the fact that all of the grocery stores in the Knoxville area pretty much have a Starbucks inside of them. There are 4 Starbucks near each other within grocery stores and a physical store at the Powell exit off of 75, because Ingles has one, Kroger has one, there's an actual Starbucks, and then Food City has a Starbucks inside. So this is not bizarre to me to see a Starbucks inside the world's largest Kroger. All right, folks, back in the car. So earlier this morning, as I was coming into Cincinnati, I stopped at Meijer, which is a huge grocery store / department store, kind of like a super Walmart. When I was a kid, Meijer did that before Walmart. Anywho, I stopped there to specifically look for new Star Wars toys. I wish I had my old ones with me. As you can see, it says Hasbro right there. This is the only figure they had at the Meijer. Old school Stormtrooper, which is pretty cool. I picked it up just to take it with me. I forgot I bought it. I was so excited. But yeah, I got me my newest Star Wars action figure right here by Hasbro, just to show you an example. And I thought it was cool that all they had was a Stormtrooper. And I got my very first Power of the Force action figures. My mom did. She bought them at Meijer on the east side of Indy, 40. We lived in Cumberland at the time, and I remember getting the re-release VHS movies at that same Meijer and getting my first Star Wars toys at Meijer. Not Kroger. Sorry, Kroger. I didn't see any Star Wars toys in there. I'm sure they had Star Wars something. Giant store had to have something Star Wars, of course, even if it was just food. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what your favorite part was. Let me know if I missed anything right down there in the comment section. Let me know if you have any questions. As always, just thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching these videos. And I hope to see you next time. subscribe below and come on back if you haven't done so already. I appreciate you living vicariously. We will be back at it. Heading back to East Tennessee today. Finishing up, putting the final finishing touches on the move. Mostly just got to mow the yard and stuff at the old house. So that's just it. I'm so happy to be done with that. And we're going to be traveling more this summer. And before you know, it's Halloween haunt season. I just booked 2 haunted houses the other day. Big haunts for my Halloween haunt season. So I'm doing that currently as well. So much ahead. Know you're awesome, know you're loved, and no matter who you are, and no matter what you're going through, just know that there's always much ahead for you, my friend. Yes, I'm talking to you. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm going to start up this car, buckle up, of course, and get out of Cincinnati. I'll be back to Cincinnati. There's so much here I want to see and do. And of course, go back to Kings Island. See you there. Hope to see you there. Stay tuned. There's much ahead. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. May the force be with you. Crossing the Ohio River. Hello, Kentucky. Good to be back. Just passing through. Just passing through. Bye, everyone. This building right here reminds me of another building in Los Angeles. You may know the name of it. The Radisson. Kentucky.